This episode is sponsored by James Mole's Running Coaching. James has been coaching experienced runners and those getting into running for over 7 years. From weekly and monthly session planning, advice on nutrition and race day prep, as well as strength sessions specific to runners, James offers a range of services to help support you be the best runner you can be. For more information, visit James Mole's Running Coaching on social media. Now on to the interview of the episode. We have a Royton Road Runner who's completed over 40 marathons and has a PB of 3 hours and 4 minutes. He has completed the 200 mile Ultra Great Britain twice and the race across Scotland twice. He's a repeat offender in the spine races, having completed the full 268 mile winter race twice and the summer version once. Please welcome Colin Green. Welcome, Colin.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so just going to start off with a few questions. You ran as a child and were inspired by your dad Frank, who was a runner of Alderman Royton. What are some of your earliest memories of watching him run, and how did that inspire you?
I suppose watching him run, I've seen pictures of him run before I actually watched him run myself, and seeing pictures of him running at the track at Westwood, where B&Q is now, and seeing him presenting with a prize from the Duke of Edinburgh. So there's a lovely picture of him, probably in his late teens, shaking hands with the Duke of Edinburgh, being awarded this. But I always knew he was a tough runner in cross country. Cross country was his thing, and he'd run for northern schools and in the national schools. So I always knew that. And then I remember we went for a meal when he was 40, something like that, and he'd just watched 1982 London Marathon. He'd not run for ages, and he said to us, hey, up at Hollywood Lake, he said, I'm going to do that next year. And we, no, you're not. So in 1983, he did the London Marathon, dressed as a cub, because he was doing it to raise money for the Cubs. So he had a little cub hat on. And watching him do that, I thought, this is fantastic. And he went on to do more marathons. I think he did about 4 or 5. Obviously none of them chip timed, and he still said he'd have beat me if they'd have been chip timed. But he did good times at other races, and we used to. More recently, he said we used to drag you around to all the races, but it really wasn't being dragged around. It was brilliant. We were going on trips out. We were watching my dad, but it was nervous watching him because you didn't know there was obviously no tracking, and sometimes you think, where are you? You should be coming around now, and yeah, so he was running at the same time as like Stan Curran and at the Pony Marathon in Bolton. I remember watching that, and the Piccadilly Marathon in Manchester. So really nice memories and seeing him run hard. But he always trained at the same speed as he raced, and he never really sussed out the marathon. He'd always run the first 20 mile really fast, and then take forever to finish the last 6.
It's like your dad's period a bit as well, isn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Early 80s, yeah. Okay, so just talk us through some of your early run years. I've got in the notes here that you stopped running during university, but prior to that, what could you talk us through those early years?
Yeah, of course I can. I used to run for Alderman Royton, but to be honest, with arse around at the back as much as anything. My dad would be doing cross country and say, "Come along, do cross country," but I couldn't be arsed, really, to be quite honest. and every now and then the junior race it's earlier, isn't it, than the senior race?
Yeah.
And he'd find me and my cousin throwing mud at each other behind a tree and saying, "Go on, Greenie, dig in. You should be doing better than this." And I'm thinking, go on then. So off we went. So he'd do that, and then we'd watch him have a decent race later on.
Yeah.
So it was the cross country, which was always miserable, always muddy, but that's actually what I really love doing now. Running in miserable, muddy conditions is my favourite. So I did that until school, and then I think when you get to 16, you've got your A-levels and stuff, and start thinking, I don't really want to do this. University, I got too much work. I were out on placements because I'm a physio, and the training there was quite strict, so didn't do anything. And then after that, couldn't be bothered for a bit. But then when I was about 30, started looking at marathons and started doing a bit of, I suppose it's when you start thinking that you can't eat everything, you're going to put on a bit of weight. So just to get fit, and I thought I'll just do the London Marathon like my dad did. So in 2003, I did 1 marathon, and that was going to be it. At least if I did under 4 hours for that marathon, I could quit it and pack it all in, but that didn't quite work. I did get under 4 hours, but I didn't.
And what was it about that race that drew you back in? And how did it feel to finally get back into it?
Yeah, it was. I think it's always been the case of if someone tells me I can't do something, that's exactly what I want to do. So I said, I'm going to do the marathon. No, you're not going to do the marathon. Right, okay, you've now challenged me. And that's been a theme throughout, you know, if someone says that race is too much or, you know, it's a daft idea, then don't tell me something's daft, because that's going to be the next thing we go for. Yeah, so the marathon, I did something like 3:57 and then thought, right, I could do better than that. The next one did 3:31, so a fair chunk, and then carried on shaving time off. But yeah, one of the problems is in the marathon, I love training for the marathon. I love the whole thing around the marathon, and you got faster and faster up to, I wanted sub 3 and not getting sub 3, and then trying a few times and not getting sub 3. It was like, what else do I want to do? Do you know?
Yeah. What do you think you'd have needed to have done different to get under 3 hours?
Probably train more.
Train more.
Would be simple. I'm always a fairly light trainer.
Yeah.
And even then, I was probably running 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Not structured. I've never ever followed a training plan. So I should have probably just pulled my finger out, to be quite honest. I was able to keep the pace for the first 23 miles. So I was able to keep.
So you were often on pace for the sub 3.
Yeah.
Until later in the race, right?
Until those last 3 miles, but things don't have to go terribly wrong, do they?
No.
It's just a bit by bit in that last.
That's the classic marathon story, that, isn't it? Though everything was going well until mile 23.
Yeah. Everything was going well until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
A well-known novel.
So what led you to transition from the marathon to ultra running then?
Just because I got slower, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I think partly I learnt a lesson from my dad, because my dad carried on running until I think he was in his 60s, and then as he got a little bit slower, he kind of backed off, and he got some injuries, and he backed off from it. And I think he kind of regrets that now in some ways, that he could have had more running, he could have had more fun. I remember speaking to one of your previous guests, Ian Grime.
Oh, yeah.
And just saying to him about his running, because quite a long time ago when I was running and he was always winning at every race, he was running, and he was really hard on himself. And I said, I think I have more fun doing this than you do, Ian. Do you know? And I think there is something, it's always got to be fun. I'm never going to win anything.
Yeah.
Oh no, I did win a park run once. Yeah. Yeah. But it's not a race, remember?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So I think, what was the question?
What made you to transition from marathon to ultra running?
Yeah, I think it was trying to reframe my goals. So I tried for a bit to just, could I still get that sub 3? When I couldn't get the sub 3, I thought I'll just run London and enjoy it. Just run 3:30 or something. It was horrible. I hated it. There was nothing good about it, and there was no more. It still hurt when you run the distance. So I thought, right, I need to reframe this. So I did the Castle 24, I think was the first one, or the Oldham Way, which was 40. It was one of those events around about 40 mile, and thought, I actually like this, and the pressure racing is kind of off a little bit. It was about completing the run. And then when I did that, I started hearing that some people had run 100 miles and thinking, that's a long way. Do you know, how does anyone do that? And now everyone does 100 miles, don't they?
Did someone turn around to you and say, you can't do 100 miles?
I think they probably did.
Yeah.
I think they probably did. And it was Hardcastle 24, which was a cracking race around Hardcastle Crags.
Okay, so it was a trail run rather than a road run.
Yeah. It was all trail, and I like the idea of adventure. When I think about it, I don't think I actually like running. Silence. I like journeying. I like getting from A to B as quick as I can.
Yeah.
But the action of running is a means to an end. That's perhaps why I never got sub 3 into it, because I should have liked running a bit more. But it is about the journeys, and that's been a theme of my racing, or my events since. It's always been a journey, you know.
You mentioned before about training for a marathon, though, and you said how much you really enjoyed training for a marathon. And I think a lot of people do enjoy that journey. And I think for me, when I trained for the marathon, that was probably one of the most enjoyable blocks I had. It's hard, but you see that progression. So maybe seeing that journey, but then having that race at the end for you, just
I think that's it. You enjoy it because you're seeing that progression.
Yeah.
I think when you're doing it and you're not seeing the progression, or if you have to reframe that, so your reframing might be that in your age category you want to be quicker, or over a slightly longer distance you want to be faster, but you're not going to beat the times you were doing 10, 20 years previously. So what do you do? And for me, that what do you do had to be, you have to go further. And I've never been one of moderation. I've never been really into moderation in terms of goals. Because I should have really gone from a marathon to a 50k to a 50 mile to a 100k, but I went from a 40 mile to a 200 mile. So it's a bit of a jump.
Just a bit.
And it didn't go well, but I can tell you more about that.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, Sean said many times on the podcast that he only ever feels like he's really focused and in the zone when he's training for a marathon. I think it's a very much a mindset thing as well.
Yeah, and do you think it's kind of the furthest you run and still look at your watch?
A marathon?
A marathon. Yeah, I mean, I scrutinise my watch over a marathon.
Yeah. And you're still looking, aren't you? And you're still pushing, and you're still conscious. And I was thinking recently, what's happened to your life when now I'm not looking at, how many seconds. I'm wondering what day I'm going to finish a race.
Yeah, whereas if I drop like 3 seconds, I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of looking at your watch, a marathon is probably the most important to do that, because it's the distance where if you get that first mile or two wrong, it can go really badly wrong.
Yeah. One way or the other.
Yeah. If you go out a few seconds too fast in a 5k, you know it's just going to be pain and it's going to hurt anyway. What's the worst that can happen? But in a marathon, if you get it 5-10 seconds a mile too wrong in the first mile or two, it can be game over.
Yeah.
I think it's also, I love the marathon. I think it's a beautiful distance. I think it really is, in terms of it's kind of symmetric. There's real good goals, isn't there? Like people are going for sub 2, like they're going for, a lot of people going for sub 3. Or do you know what? They've got really good goals, or sub 2:15. You've got real targets, and it seems to work well with numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like all the way through the field though. So even like the 2:15, 2:30, 2:40 for you, Sean, that was a target for quite a while, weren't it? Mine was the sub 2:3, and then I went under 2:55, and then you have a lot of people that did Berlin that were like, I really want to get 2:55. So it does break it down, and everyone has that individual goal of getting that sub something, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's such a big thing over the marathon, because we've mentioned it loads of times. It's the only distance, apart from the ultras, that you can just go, I've got to do another big block before I can go and attack it again.
Yeah, and I do think when people ask me about doing the first, because I've done a few marathons, and any tips, and I say exactly like you said there, Dave. Set off because what time are you going for? I don't know. I said, well, that won't work then, will it? You need to know from that first mile.
You have to know,
what your time is going to be at the end. Otherwise, how can you possibly pace a race?
And how can you determine whether it's a success or a failure if you've not got a target in mind?
So when I was going just to enjoy a day in London and run 3:30, what's the point, to be honest? It wasn't. But it is that it's a goal yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to remind yourself that no one else is asked about your time.
No.
It's only really you and a few mates and the listeners to the podcast.
Yeah. There's only about 4 of them.
You've got more than 4 friends.
So we understand you're the former of the Greenfield Greyhounds running club, and you formed them in 2011.
That's correct.
Do you just want to give us a bit of a background on the story behind how and why you formed the club?
Yeah, sure. There is quite a story to it. It was on the 11th of January 2011, which is very symmetrical, isn't it? And this is the 111th episode, so...
Yeah.
Get that. Anyway, back to the story. It was my sister-in-law had breast cancer, and she'd had treatment for breast cancer and wanted to get fit after it. So she said she knew I did a bit of running. Said, "Would you take a few of us out for a run?" So I said, "Yeah." So I think there were 5 on that first day. Met at Greenfield Conservative Club, and all in the hivers, and off we went. We did a mile, and then went home and told them everyone they'd done really well, and that kind of built and built and built. And I think since then we've probably had about 750 runners come through the club. Some will never run again, but it's been really, really good to see people take the first steps into running. Some have gone through to do ultras, and some have just run to the chippy after. Do you know, there's a real variety, but it has really helped some people, and it's brought people together, and we've raised quite a lot of money as a result of it. So that still goes on.
Brilliant.
And it was really a running club for people who didn't want to do running clubs. So we just used to collect £1 each time. There was no committee, there was no rules really, apart from turn up and we'll go for a run.
Yeah. One of the things I know the Greenfield Greyhounds are best for is the Dovestone Diamond Race, which you are the run director for.
I am.
Here's your opportunity. Do you want to give the race a plug for next year, first of all?
Oh yes, well, the race will hopefully be running next year, barring plagues, natural disasters, a pandemic. That's never going to happen, is it? So yeah, it's going to be on the 27th of May 2026.
Yeah.
So it's a Wednesday evening. So always really well supported. So once entries open, be quick. I think it's probably going to go on Bucket Zone again. We're going to say bucket list, but that's a different...
I normally say bucket, bookings.com, don't I?
Yeah. No, it's on Bucket Zone. So we'll be releasing those. And we're fully...
And it's incredibly popular. How quickly does it normally sell out?
It's sold out in about 12 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's 250 places.
Really popular run.
We have got a licence for 300, but I don't think the route really fits 300, I think.
Yeah.
I think 250 is good, and we have a bit of a race feel, and we want to keep it quite low key. We want to keep it low key, cheap, and you're never going to get a PB on that race. Partly because the route changes every year, depending on land permissions. So
I've got to say, it's one of my first races I ever did.
Yeah,
and I loved it.
And you carried on after that, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I think I might have run the first one. Way back in, I think it was 2011 or 2012.
That could have been with Jason from Kiwi Events.
Possibly,
at the time, because I took it over from Jason.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah. Okay, so you've paced marathons and halves at Chester and Manchester. So what is it about pacing that you enjoy so much, and what makes a good pacer, in your opinion?
Not me. I think that a good pacer needs to be somewhere near the current time. I think you don't want to be pacing a marathon, say, at half an hour slower, or certainly an hour slower. That's never going to work. I think the 15-30 minutes is probably a sweet spot in your comfort zone.
Why would you say the hour? Why would you say that? Is it that because they're not used to like time on feet, or why would you say an hour?
It's just very awkward to run an hour slower for a marathon than you would normally do.
Right.
And to be consistent. So if I was running, say I were running a 4.5 hour marathon, I could run 3.5. I've got quite an awkward running pace for that, and you could do it. You could do it, but I don't think it'd be a very good thing. Normally, when I was pacing, I'd say, "Can I have half an hour?" Near my time. I have been asked,
not either side.
Not either side. I have been asked to pace for a half marathon, and it was within kind of 5-10 minutes of my PB. So that was tricky.
Yeah,
that was tricky, especially when it became a really hot day.
I think you're right, though. I think you want to be not too far away from your natural cadence, really. Don't you? Otherwise, it feels a bit.
And it doesn't feel sincere either.
Yeah.
It can be if you're running with a pacer who looks like it's a walk in the park and they're patronising. I did do a marathon one time, and someone had employed the personal trainer to run round the marathon with them, and they were kind of running backwards in front of them, going, "Go on, you're doing really good," and start singing songs I'd have told them to do.
Yeah, I'd have had to trip him up.
I thought you were going to say something else.
I was going to say something else, but there might be children listening.
Yeah. I've just had a look then, so an hour's like 2 minute a mile difference.
Massive,
that's a lot.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be that much.
Yeah.
But
Well, that comes into your comment, doesn't it? Right, you just need to go that bit too fast in those first miles for it to unravel later on.
Yeah.
And that I love when I used to do marathons, hearing that comment at the beginning, someone saying, "Let's just get miles in the bank to start off with." And you think,
kiss of death, that, isn't it?
Yeah, well done.
Everyone says that, don't they?
Well, they shouldn't. They should
Bank
stop
time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can do. Okay, right, that's all my questions, Colin. I'm now going to hand over to Sean.
Oh, yeah. So, you mentioned the Hardcastle 24. So, you said that was your first experience of ultra distance.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that race, first of all, because it's a 24-hour race, isn't it? So rather than a set distance.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. So you can run as far as you want in that distance. So you could run an hour at the beginning.
Yeah.
Go and sleep for 22 hours and run an hour at the end if you want to.
All right, yeah. So you can break it. So it's not like that Endure 24 thing.
Well, it should. In my mind, it should be.
Yeah.
You should be staying out on the course. In my mind, if it's a 24-hour race, you should be on the course for 24 hours. But some people don't do it, and it's up to them, isn't it? It's not the police. So the route it's Hardcastle Crags National Trust property. And it's a figure of 8 that's all off trail. It's a beautiful route.
Yeah.
Or was a beautiful route, and it runs down by rivers. It runs up really steep bankings, along lots of trails, some kind of mill roads, through cobbled roads, stepping stones. So there's something. I think it is about 5.5 mile a loop.
Right.
So it's as many loops as you can do in that course. Now, the first time I did it, I thought, right, I'm out for 24 hours. I need to take food with me. And do you know these massive boxes you can get from Costco? I don't know how long I was going for. I could have still been going now. And I took that much food with me because you went past it each time. And I think, I can't remember how many laps I did, but I think it was about 40 miles in the end. So it'd be, what would that be, 8 laps? And just enjoyed the difference of running in the day, running at night, running through the night.
How different was that to what you'd been used to then, doing the marathon distance?
Yeah, I'd never run really, apart from winter training. I've never run in the dark. And what I've liked since that is running into the night, running through the night, or having a little sleep through that, and then running through the next day.
Yeah.
So hearing the birds and then seeing the light come back up again. So you run through a whole 24-hour cycle. Yeah.
When you knew you were doing that, then how differently did you approach it? Did you do different training compared to just exactly the same?
No, just carry on running.
Nice.
Probably Monday, Thursday, a bit of track work, and a long run on Saturday.
Yeah.
There will be no training tips given here because I go for a run when I've got a bit of time.
When you say a long run, how long would a long training run be for you?
Depending how long I got, to be honest. If I got 2 hours, it would be for 2 hours.
Yeah.
If I got 3 hours, I'd go out for 3 hours. But my long training runs in marathon training would have been probably 20-22. That would be.
Well, that's decent for the marathon, isn't it?
Yeah, really good.
But it's only half the distance for that. But there would be no more than marathon training. It'd be no more than marathon training, and less, and pace-wise, it'd be much slower. Yeah. Because the terrain would be much harder.
Yeah. And then you had the Ultra Great Britain race, which we were chatting about earlier, and you were at 8. I think you were in first place at 80 miles.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it set off at Southport, and I think I was winning the race coming into Broadbottom near Glossop.
Is this the equivalent to the feeling good at 23 story? Do you?
Yeah. It was like feeling good at Park Run. Yeah, I feel all right. We're not, and. Yeah, what a crazy race. So I either first or second at Broadbottom, so 80 odd mile, still another 120 to go. The next day, because my wife and family, my mum and dad were crewing me, they drove through a place called Wanwell in somewhere South Yorkshire, and they saw this bloke asleep on a verge on a dual carriageway, and it was me. I crashed and burned and was fast asleep on a dual carriageway. So they were in a camper van, and I finished up sleeping that night in a Premier Inn.
All right.
And since then, it's been in the race rules that you're not allowed to sleep in a Premier Inn or a hotel.
Grass verges are fine still, though.
Yeah, a grass verge, that would be fine. Yeah. Wanwell's not so good, though.
Well, did you finish 11th?
I did, but there were 24 people started the race. It was a 200-mile race. 24 people started it, and 12 people finished.
All right, okay,
That's
that
how
puts it into perspective.
Yeah, I was
right,
next. 11th sounds better than next to last. Doesn't it?
Yeah, we could have just ended that story there.
I'll edit that bit.
I was just outside the top 10. Should we say that?
What did you learn lessons from that then?
Do you think? Yeah, I learnt lessons about making sure your time in an ultra is you're doing useful things. So you're either eating, you're sleeping, or you're moving.
Yeah.
And I would say if you can cover one of those off, you're actually doing something that's going to get you to the end. And the pace of moving needs to be slow.
You said there was going to be no training tips.
Yeah,
That's a great bit of
actually.
advice.
Yeah. I've got another one. I thought of this the other day. They don't come from any book, right? It was... I've forgotten it. It was walk... No. That's it. Run slow, walk fast. So in a race... So if you're running fast, and then when you come to a walking part, you finish up having to walk really slow. So I want my pace to be medium throughout the whole thing. So I don't want to be bursting ahead and then walking. It's the same as you said, Dave, about in a marathon. You go really fast, and later on you're knackered. Aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's that, can you keep your average pace high? It's not about the individual pace at any particular time. It's that average pace needs to be high.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who in the spine called Stephen, he had a really good thing. He would do a similar thing with emotions as well. So he would keep his emotions at that level. So you don't want to be one of these people who's whooping and hollering, and then crying. I've seen it in so many races that someone's in a checkpoint and the ball in their eyes out, or high-fiving people, and you think, just calm down and just be boring.
Yeah.
Be boring. I'm good at that.
The spine race.
Yeah.
So Dave touched on this in the intro. You've done the spine race twice in the winter and once in the summer.
I've done it 4 times in the winter,
right.
but I didn't finish it twice.
Oh, right.
Which
okay.
I probably learned more than the finishing.
Yeah. How far did you get in those two then?
One, I got 76 miles the first year, and I slipped and broke a rib on a river crossing. No, but it was like walking across a puddle. I shouldn't have fallen over at that point, but I fell on a hard water bottle on my kit.
Yeah.
And just broke a rib. So it sounds really dramatic. It ended the race with a whimper.
Yeah, did you carry on for a bit? And then,
Yeah, about 4 hours, but then you realise that going uphill was difficult. There's quite a few uphills in the spine. Opening styles was difficult again, and putting any effort in and getting breathless was difficult. So all the things you needed to be able to do later on, they weren't going to happen. But I learnt loads from that, and it gave me the passion to go back the next year in 2019 and finish.
Yeah. And the distance is 268, is it? Yeah, that's unbelievable, isn't it? Can you imagine?
No.
Well, how does the mental and physical challenge of the winter spine compare to the summer?
Well, before I answer that question, just about the distance, it's best not to think about the distance. Think about it as a journey. You think, right, I need to get to this place. And that's your journey. The miles are kind of irrelevant because you can be doing some parts that it's so steep you might be doing a mile an hour.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the distance. Worry about, can I get to the next place?
Do you do like checkpoint to checkpoint then in your mind?
Yeah, but the checkpoints, the first one is after 47 miles, the first checkpoint, and the next one's 108 mile.
Yeah, it feels like we need more checkpoints.
Yeah. But checkpoints are sometimes your way out of a race as well. So give you fewer checkpoints, you've got fewer ways out.
Yeah.
If you did that race and did it on a mile loop, and every mile loop you've got the opportunity to bail, people are not going to finish that race. It's like, have you heard of the tunnel? A 200-mile race through a tunnel down in Somerset.
Is that the out and back one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a mile out, a mile back, and they've got 100 of those. So there's a lot of times you can, and it's dark, and it's flat, and you should be able to run it.
And your GPS wouldn't work in tunnel.
No, exactly. So the winter race, it was always the really popular race. Everyone wants to run in miserable
Do you
conditions.
think it still is? Cause
Yeah. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
Because it's a really, I love the Spine race. I've been involved since 2017.
Yeah.
Every year I've been involved. But it's a really clever model they've got now. So they do the Spine Sprint, then they do the Challenger South, then they do the Challenger North, then they do the full Spine. So it's almost a gateway drug. You do the sprint, but then you think, I've done that one, so I'll do that one, And the daddy at the top of all of them, I think, is a winter full. It's the one that people want to be able to do. And I looked down a little bit on the summer one. I thought that won't be as good because it's not as miserable. But I did it one year and it was flipping fantastic because you could see where you were going. You had 16 hours of light each day, whereas flip that round in the winter Spine, you've got 8 hours of darkness. And in one of the races, things happened and I slept in. When I arrived at 108 miles, I slept and I wanted to sleep for 2 hours. I woke up 6 hours later and I'd slept through that day as well. Mm-hmm. So when I woke up, it was dark again. So I was going out in the dark.
But did you get good weather on the summer one then? Because that can still be rough, can't it?
Yeah, we did. People have been pulled out with hypothermia in the summer one.
Yeah.
But we had great weather, and there were nights where you didn't need to put your head torch on. Because of the moon.
When was it that you were late because of the traffic? Because weren't everyone going to look at the sunrise or something?
That's
and you were late?
right. Yeah, all the TikTokers were on Mamtor.
Yeah,
looking at it. Was beautiful. So there was a cloud inversion in the winter last year. It's funny that with the Spine, because you call it last year, but it was actually the beginning of this year because it's in January. So we were late. So I arrived at the start 20 minutes late. Everyone had gone, and it's like I was in the car with my wife Jane, and she said, "You are out for a week." And just that statement was like, "Yeah, you're actually right. It's a week's race. 20 minutes is not the end of the world." So I had the best start of a race because you didn't have all these other people around you, and it was just quite good fun to be out. And there was these cloud inversions, and it was just beautiful. It was like being in Switzerland, just at the top of Jacob's Ladder above Edale.
Yeah.
So it's stunning.
Yeah, it did look good. I mean, if anyone's not seen the videos, it's on YouTube, the Spine race, every year. It's a really good watch and really well put together as well, if you're interested in looking at it.
I've got a less well put together Facebook page, which is Colin's Ultra Running Exploits, and I would send a video to my wife and she will put posts through my races, and it gives a kind of really good picture of what you were feeling at that point, whether that's eating a pot noodle on the toilets at Hadrian's Wall, or whether it's thigh deep in snow, or whether it's really, because we had a lot of snow at the beginning of that race, but then the snow had to thaw, didn't it? So there was a lot of water to get through.
And you've done quite a bit of volunteering in the Spine race as well.
Yeah, that's how I got involved. First off, I thought I wanted to see what it was about, and volunteering is a really good thing to do. You kind of in it, and you're seeing the elite people, and you're also seeing the rest of us, which is most people, and you see what they're going through and what they're pulling themselves through. Sleep deprivation is a massive thing on the Spine. I would tend to sleep about 90 minutes in a 24-hour period, but then as the race goes on and you're getting more tired, I would set my alarm for about 5 or 8 minutes to have little sleeps, and they can reset you.
Just
really
in random places?
Yeah, I can sleep wherever. Yeah, if you're that tired, I could sleep here if you wanted. I'll show you.
It will make a good podcast.
It could be on the video.
Yeah, we'll put that on. We'll speed it up a bit.
So those like micro sleeps can be really helpful as a reset. It doesn't actually matter how long. If they were 3 minutes, it would still have the same thing. I can fall asleep that quick to kind of come back up, but I'd set me alarm.
And what did you do volunteering? Did you follow the race then, I take it?
I've done a few different volunteering roles. So when I've dropped out of the race, I've ended up volunteering because I'm off for the week and I love the race. So it's good. So I've been on the checkpoint. So you're checking people in, you're checking people out, you're doing kit checks. So you get to see all the kit that people, which is substantial. If you spend enough for your kit, so you may as well do it many times because you've paid about $2 or $3 grand on your kit for the race. So you're doing that. On other ones that we're on the safety team, so we might be going to roadheads to check on the welfare of runners as they're in the middle of nowhere. So you're watching people, so you're sat in a car or you're in a tent waiting for people to cross the road. Yeah. But the tracker, I don't think the Spine race or a lot of these races could happen without really good trackers.
Tracking, yeah. It's accurate as well, isn't it?
Very, very accurate. And the Spine always uses open tracking.
Yeah.
How does that tracking work then? Is that taken from basically a piece of technology that they put on you?
Yeah, right. You've got a little box that goes on your rucksack strap, right. And it sends updates, and every year there's another bit of tech in them, and now they're really tiny and they last a week.
Right.
The tracker. Sometimes they might have to swap the batteries out, but if you get to a checkpoint, there's 5 checkpoints on the Spine. If you get to one of the checkpoints and your batteries come in low, they'll just swap it over for another one. Yeah. So I think when they looked at the Spine website, there's millions of people tracking the race.
Yeah.
And you could sometimes imagine yourself as a dart. And if you've seen the films, there's dramatic music behind you following. Yeah. If you're in the race, there's nothing of
that. just a sound of rain on your hood.
Yeah, there's no one following you with a cello.
We had Danielle Butler on who did the Spine race, and she mentioned a lot about like hallucinations. Did you have anything like that?
I did the first year. There was a whole lot of things happened the first year I finished. But what my theory is now, not my theory, my kind of tactic is try and avoid them. Try and avoid the hallucinations. Finish the race in a good condition. Finish the race happy and finish it stood up straight. Because the first time I finished it, I was leaning right over like... there's pictures online where I wasn't in a good way and thought I'd had a stroke. And
how do you do that then? How do you avoid that kind of stuff?
The little sleeps help.
Yeah.
If you've Damien Hall, who is a very good ultra runner, he says low mood eat food, which is a good one, and other things like making sure. Yeah, just looking after yourself. It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
These long races are always a puzzle to solve. So what are the obstacles going to be put in your place or put in your way to stop you finishing that race? And use it as your feet are knackered. So you'll be walking through bogs for 5 days. Your feet are knackered. It could be that you've not eaten well. You've not managed your sleep very well. So sort those things out. Sort your head out. And another thing is make sure your head's in a good place before you set off. If you've had an argument at home before you leave for the race, you can bet that's coming back to you in the middle of 3 a.m, 3 days in, or a message from someone saying, I've been in races with people and they've been having an argument with the partner on the phone, and then they're back in the race because that's you've got enough time. It's not like you're running a marathon in 2.5 hours and you can put them things to bed.
Yeah.
You have got.
Yeah. And there's when I saw this in the questions about the GM Ringway 200-mile route, I googled it and straight away you came up.
Hey.
Yeah, as being the only person to have completed it. So, what motivated you into doing that specific route, and what were the biggest challenges you faced? Just tell us a bit about what that is as well.
I'll tell you what the route is, and then I'll tell you the reason I went for it. The GM Ringway is a route that I think was designed in October 2023. They got a grant for a certain amount of money to establish a walking route around Manchester. It was 20 points linked up by public transport. And when you put these 20 points together, it makes 200 mile. So they said that would be good for a year, that you can do a little bit. You do a walk every weekend. It's a nice trip out, but then when I put them all together and they said it's 200 mile, I thought that's my favourite distance. So let's see whether we can have a go at just putting it together. And someone says, oh, that's a silly idea. So that's that one ticked off. We looked at the diary when we were available to do it. So the bank holiday seemed a good idea in May last year. And it was, I live in Greenfield, so we set off from Greenfield. So it meant we didn't have to get a taxi or anything to the start. And Jane and my mum and dad.
Were you on time? Were you on time? You weren't 20 minutes late?
Well, I was the time. No, I was on time, and I didn't do one of these silly ultra things about setting off at 6 o'clock. Why do you have to get up early? Set off at 8 o'clock. Set off at 10 o'clock. Have a rest. You're gonna have plenty of time to. So, yeah, I set off at, I think it was 8 o'clock, and my plan was to do it in 3 days. I didn't manage that. I did it in 3.5 days. But I knew, firstly, I was highly likely to finish, because I was fairly determined that I was going to finish it. And secondly, if I did finish it, I would have the fastest known time, because no one else had done it. So that was quite a motivator in times where you thought, I could quit this, I'm a bit fed up. So I slept in some funny places on it, but I'll tell you about those in a little while if I don't forget. So yeah, it was a 200-mile route. It was local. Yeah. I could set off from my house, and then a few other people have had a go, including Danielle. Danielle had a good stab at it, and friend Trish had a go, and then another guy had a go recently as well. So, but they've not managed to finish it. I'm very sorry about that.
So where did you sleep?
Right, the first night. So if you set off from Greenfield, a lovely spot at Bromley Cross train station. If it was chucking it down, but if you pick the right shelter, you get sheltered from the wind there. So I was in a bivvy bag there. So that was the first night. It went downhill the next night, because that was a graveyard in Wigan. But it was quiet. Yeah, it was very quiet, apart from this creepy cat looking at me through the night. And then on the third night, do you know all those big swanky houses at Point and Pools? Yeah, under one of those hedges. And that was, yeah. So yeah, being able to sleep in those places was quite good. I had good weather for it, apart from that first night. And my cousin, my wife and family, they supported us along the route through the day. And then my cousin, Anthony Rogers, came along and he ran. He said, I'll do a bit with you. 92 miles later, he's still running. Wow. So he was brilliant. So, and then I just said to people, I'm doing it. I've got a tracker from Open Tracking. If you want to pop along for it. And then people kept popping along. I think there was about 30 people at one point or another. Popped up in somewhere and saying, I'll run with you. I want to do that and dress as a clown and pop out of the woods from somewhere.
In Wigan Graveyard.
So yeah, it's a brilliant route, and there's loads of time to come off my time. Loads of time. You could have a go.
Yeah. Dave was just saying before he fancies it.
Sure, I fancy sleeping in a graveyard in Wigan.
You could sleep in the graveyard earlier than Wigan then. But it is you're easy to knock a day off that.
Easy, yeah.
You could.
You've probably potentially covered the answer to this question, but could you tell us about a specific moment in one of your ultra races, be that high or a low, that encapsulates the unique challenges of the sport?
It's the one I've spoken to quite a few people about. It was in the first Spine race that I finished. You're coming down off the Cheviots. I don't remember the last day of the race at all. And I know I was falling over. If anyone listening has heard this story, they can just switch off for the next 2 minutes. So I shouldn't say that, should I? No. No, switch back on. I'll change it. So what they do there, I was coming down and I kept falling over. I was walking over to the left, fall to the left, fall to the left. I must have fallen 300 times or so, just falling down. And then one time I thought, I've had a stroke here. That's what's going wrong. I've had a stroke. I looked at my watch and thought, I've done 265 mile of the 268. That's probably enough. So I'll leave it here. And I put all my kit on and decided that I was going to die there. So I wasn't bothered, because I thought, I've done quite well. So lay in my sleeping bag, everything. And then I heard, first I saw a bright light coming towards me. And then I heard an angel singing. And we're thinking, what's this? But not bothered. That's the worrying thing. I wasn't bothered. And it turned out it was one of the marshals, an Irish girl called Steph Dwyer, who's got a lovely singing voice, and it was a head torch coming towards me. And they were sweeping the course, because I was the last person out on the route. And they came and said, what's wrong with you? I said, well, I've had a stroke and I'm pulling out of the race. He went, no, you're not, are you? I said, no, I am. So that they convinced me not to, but they said, but we can't help you. So they gave me some sugar because my sugar levels were really low, and I was walking down the hill. They said we need to be, because we can't assist you, we need to be a distance away from you. But the thing is, we were walking down the hill, and every time they spoke to me, I walked back up the hill to talk to them again. So they were saying, go on, off you go, you need to finish this race. And when I got to the end, there were loads of people outside the Bordeaux Hotel in Kirkhatton where the Pennine Way finishes. And I went, what are you all doing here? They said, you're the last person in the race. Well, I didn't know. You're not checking your tracker. I didn't know what day it was. And I'd finished with 40 minutes to go out of the 7 days in the race. So you're going to struggle to beat that, really, for a memory.
Yeah.
Wow.
From me.
Just makes you want to do it, doesn't it?
No.
Well, I've got a couple of listener questions here. So I've got a question in from Kev Hutchinson on Instagram.
Kev.
And he said, question for Colin Green in the next pod. Can you tell us about the ultra he's planning along with Lydia Becker Way in Oldham?
Oh, this is going to be a stormer, and we're going to keep entries low to this. So it's a race in Chadderton. I don't know. Do you know the Lydia Becker?
I don't know.
No.
We're going to call.
I thought
the race,
that was a woman initially. I thought.
No, she was.
Should I read this out on air?
No,
or?
she was a suffragette, and there's a road that goes near Costco in Oldham, and it goes down to Foxdenton and back. I think it's about a mile long, and I'd like to do an ultra on that. So do about 30 miles on it. I think it'd be 60 odd laps, and it's the most tedious road I've ever seen. So the LBU, the Lydia Becker Ultra, I think I'm the only entrant so far. So running up and down this, and I want to start it as Costa closes, because it's the only interesting thing on the route. So as they pull the shutters down, that would be the starting whistle, and then off we go to trudge up and down a miserable road in Chadderton.
There you go.
So if you want to, it's on bucket zone if you want to.
Is it?
No.
One entry.
I was going to say when that goes.
You can have a
live,
free entry if you like.
It just depends what day it is, really, for me.
Just
that.
one free entry between you.
Katie will probably do it.
You could do it as a prize on your show.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Get some listeners. And we've got a question in from Leo Lochran. Do you know Leo?
I do. Hi, Leo.
I thought you would. So, as someone who balances full-time work with running incredible ultra distances, what mindset or routine has been most important in helping you keep going when the miles and life gets really tough? And do you still remember the feeling of giving out medals at races when you handed me my first one at the 24-hour in Winletter? And he says, big love, Colin.
That was a tough race at Winletter. I'd slept in my car for ages before Leo finished, I think. So he did proper stuff. It is thinking about what everyone says this, but it's why are you running? What are you doing it for? And one of the strong reasons I've got for running it is I'm a physiotherapist, and I treat people who've haven't got the abilities they've got neurological problems, so they may have mobility problems. So my feeling is I'm doing it, while I can, because there's going to become a time where we all can't do it.
Yeah.
So let's do it now. It's been nice to spend some time with Leo on some races. Usually when he's injured and I'm having a great race, that's when our paths cross.
Yeah, he's a keen ultra distance runner himself, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He won Manchester. Is it Manchester to Liverpool?
Yeah,
he did, and won that.
Yeah,
he's done that.
I think he applied to go out quite hard on that one.
He always likes to go out hard, Leo.
Yeah.
He's,
I say Winletter. I've done the park run in Winletter. That's hard. I can't imagine what an ultra's like in it.
Yeah, you just keep running round in circles. It's
beautiful
nice.
setting though.
Yeah,
Isn't
it is a beautiful
and the
setting.
views you get across the water as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good.
That's all the questions I have. Over to you, Colin.
Thank you. So you mentioned just then about being a physiotherapist. How do you manage that with your own running and your recovery?
Probably by not training very much, to be quite honest. Because people who know me, who listen to this, probably realise that I don't train as much as a lot of people. But one of the reasons for that is, firstly, work's busy, and it's trying to fit work within everything else as well. But also, I think if I was training, because I do think, have I got a decent marathon in me again, would I go back to that? But I think I'd just be injured all the time, pushing my system to that. And also, I just want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy these journeys. I'm not one for wrecking routes. I don't like to wreck a route because I want to experience what the route is on the day. Because I'm not going to win anything. So let's just go off and have an adventure.
So how does your professional knowledge as a physio inform your training, or when you actually train?
I do train. I'm
and especially for races as demanding as the Spine. So how does that help?
Yeah, I think you've got a pretty good... If something's going wrong, you've got a pretty good idea of what's going wrong. So you can kind of spot the symptoms. You hear people talk a lot of rubbish on races about particular injuries, and you think that... And there's a lot of advice being given by people who don't really know what they're talking about. But in terms of... What was the second half of the question?
So how does it inform your races such as a demanding race like the Spine?
Yeah, I think for that it is managing yourself, looking after yourself. So it's not necessarily the injuries in terms of physiotherapy kind of injuries, although we would address those, and it would be things like foot care.
Yeah,
would be a big one. Look after your feet, because your feet can end any race.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how fast you are, if your feet are shredded. I'm a big fan of waterproof socks, but only with the right kind of waterproof socks and the right kind of thickness. So I think it's looking after yourself, looking after your nutrition as well. And you probably most ultra runners will say this, but we're fans of food rather than gels and supplements. That if you're out for a week, you're not having gels for a week.
Do you have to take all of your food with you for all of your races?
It depends what the race is. Something like the Spine, between checkpoint 1 and 2, that's from Hebden through to Hawes, you've got 60 odd miles, so you do need to take.
So you have at each checkpoint you have like a stash of food.
You should be leaving with, I think the rules at the moment are 3,000 calories that you need to leave with the checkpoint with.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That.
It is a lot, but people are fairly canny about it. It could be 3 dried meals that packed into nothing, but now they're saying that, and this is sensible, that they need to be accessible calories. So you don't have those, because unless you then stop in to put your stove on and boil up some water and make the meal, it needs to be quick food. So people are finding what is highest calorie but lowest weight.
Yeah, I was going to say
3
is that,
packs of biscuits.
but like really like dense, like some like flapjacks. Or
Marzipan.
Marzipan
is a good one. But you also want something you want to flipping eat, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't want to be taking something that when you pull it out of your bag at 2 a.m, you think, why did I bring this? So I think those kind of tips, so they're not injury tips, but they're looking after yourself tips. And when I go into some races with a lot of new runners, you see people making the same mistakes all the time.
So do you find that your experience as a long distance runner and an ultra runner makes you better for any physio with runners? Do you
I don't. My work is with people who've had strokes and head injuries.
Right. Okay.
So, but our practice do treat people who've had sports injuries.
Okay. And you don't get involved in any of that?
No, not personally. That's not my work. But staff that work for me do that.
Cool. Right. Shoes. What's your take on the running shoes, and do you have any specific recommendations?
Nope.
Okay. Cool. Next question.
No, my
just
feeling.
Just the socks.
Just wear socks.
Yeah, it would. On trail, I think this might be controversial, but I think on trail, overpronation or issues are not as big a problem because the terrain underneath your foot is so varied. What I'd be more interested in is grip on them. But even then, if you're running through bogs, grip is irrelevant. So I'd be looking at some knee-length socks, a mental image here, and a liner sock underneath them being the main thing. There's arguments for, do you wear a Gore-Tex shoe, or because the water inevitably, certainly on the Pennine Way, is going to go over the top of the shoe and going to sit around in the shoe. So, or do you want a really breathable shoe where the water's going to go in and then drain away?
Do you wear the same shoe for the race, or do you have like... a change of shoe halfway.
In the winter race, I wore the same shoe the whole way. And some people are changing the socks so frequently. If my feet are feeling all right, I wouldn't necessarily take my shoes off. I wouldn't take my socks off. I wouldn't even... It depends how my feet are feeling, but I would always take a bag to put over my feet to get in the sleeping bag. So I might even put my shoes on. But that's only if in certain circumstances. Other times, at a checkpoint, I'll take my shoes and socks off. I have a bag of talc and put my feet in that. And then usually, you see these pictures people take as soon as you take the shoes off at the checkpoint. You know, we all... And you say, oh, I've got trench foot. Yeah. Just let your foot dry out for half an hour, and those pictures will be far less impressive on TikTok.
So ultra running is so much a mental game as well as a physical one. You've mentioned about making sure you look after yourself, and they're like the physical aspects, but what mental strategies do you use to stay focused? Do you use anything like chunking up the race, or like we mentioned about the in between checkpoints, but is there anything else that you do to try and stay focused for that period of time?
I think it depends where you are and what you're doing, but I think there's certain benefits and disadvantages of being in groups. So you can sometimes seek out a group and be with that group, or being with another person on the route can help. Other times it can not help. Not thinking about distance, like I said earlier, thinking about it's a journey, I need to get from here to there. Also thinking about you voluntarily put yourself in this situation. You know, no one is making you do this.
You've paid.
You've paid.
Yeah.
You've paid a lot. You've paid a lot for it, and you've taken time off work. So invest yourself in it. And also, we're flipping privileged to be able to do this and to be able to afford to enter the races, which are not cheap. We've got the kit. Just go out, do it, have an adventure, and so there's that. There's the know why you're doing it, is the one that everyone says. Resetting with sleep is a big one. So, and also for me, it's usually the second afternoon, evening, which is my weakest point in say if it was a week-long race, that point. If I can get through that point of the afternoon, evening on the second day, I can get to the sixth day. It's going to help. You just have to get through it. It doesn't always get worse. Is another one.
Just sometimes.
But in a marathon, I think when it goes worse, it doesn't get better.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whereas in an ultra, you're moving so slowly sometimes. There's actually a really good point after some of the really crappy points.
Yeah.
That's a really good answer. Do you know, considering you didn't say you were going to give any training tips for it? So what's next for you? Do you have any big races or challenges on the horizon apart from the
Lydia Becker Ultra?
Yeah.
No, I've got 2 races planned. I'm going to do the Spine Challenger North. But I'm a trainee in Oldham Mountain Rescue, so I'm doing the Mountain Rescue team race in that one. So I'm doing that in January, and then I'm doing the same race again in June. Oh, cool! So I'm doing.
So you mentioned before about the Spine race, sprint, southern and northern. What are them distances?
Right. So the Spine. Let's see if I can get these right. The sprint is 47 miles. So that's Edale to Hebden. Then
hardly worth getting out of bed for.
Hardly worth bothering, is it? That's what I thought. The next one is the Challenger South, so that's from Edale to Hardraw, and that is 108, 110. So it is worth getting out of.
That's
just about.
You need to book a day off work for that at least.
Hardraw to the end is the Challenger North, so that's 160. So that's the one I'm doing. That's the best bit of the Pennine Way, to be honest. Right. And then the full one is 268 from Edale up to Caterham.
It's a long way, isn't it?
It's a very long way.
That's a lot. Imagine driving 268 miles. You need to stop for fuel and drinks and things.
And against the capacity. Oh, that's one of the other things on the Spine. If there's a shop open, if there's a pub open, and it's open to everyone, because it is an unsupported race, but if there's facilities on the route, we're going into the co-op at Gargrave and raiding the pasties and getting chains behind their mangoes. Yeah, we're all for that.
So now we've got our quick fire questions. So I think we know some of the answers to these. So road, trail or track?
Trail.
Morning or evening workouts?
Morning.
Long intervals or tempo runs?
What? Long intervals at 268 miles long, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go.
Hill sprints or flat sprints?
Neither.
Neither, that's fine. Recovery runs or rest days?
Every day is a recovery rest day.
Heart rate zone training or pace-based training?
Very funny. Heart rate.
Do you cross train or Foley focus?
Easy for you to say. I Foley focus.
I'm
running. Yes. And as a physiotherapist, I should be cross training more.
And competitive mindset or fun and enjoyment?
What do you think?
Fun and enjoyment. That was brilliant, Colin. Thank you very much for coming on the pod and giving us all your training tips.
That was good, yeah. That was a very, very different to typical sort of answers we get across all those questions.
You didn't ask me carbon. I could have done the spine in the carbon shoes, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Would you though?
Too tight to fit them.
No, thank you, Colin. That was absolutely brilliant. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
And let us know when you do your ultra, and we can share it on the pod.
What?
People can join.
Yeah.
Yeah, people might join you for a mile sprint.
Oh, that was good. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you. You're doing a good job here.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode. In the next episode, we'll be speaking to the founders of Manchester 24 Hours Run Against Homelessness and runners of Manchester Road Runners. One founder has PBs of 20:03 for the 5k, 42:08 for the 10k, 93:57 for the half, and 3:28:12 for the marathon. The other has PBs of 17:23 for the 5k, 35:43 for the 10k, 82:26 for the half, and 2:55:54 for the marathon. We will be speaking to Thomas Lewis and Molly Glenister Doyle. So get those questions over to Thomas and Molly, and remember, a true race is not just against the clock, but against the part of you that wants to quit.